These are times when wrestlers help their opponent remember their spots. The Royal Rumble is one of WWE's most chaotic matches, with 30 superstars all trying to remember their spots and timing. With so many moving parts, it's easy for a lot of confusion to happen with all the wrestlers. That's exactly what happened during the closing moments of the 2004 Royal Rumble match. You could hear the Big Show clearly instructing RVD and John Cena saying,
"Buddy, how are they gonna get?"
The Big Show was reminding them of the planned elimination order, which was set to unfold just moments later. It looks like either RVD or John Cena forgot who was supposed to go over the top rope first, and the Big Show's quick reminder ensured that the finish happened without any mistakes. Sticking with the Royal Rumble, we need to talk about the Great Khali. He was never really known to be a great wrestler. In fact, he'd make many botches throughout his entire career. A great example of this happened during the 2007 Royal Rumble. After Khali entered the match and bulldozed through the competition, the plan was for him to stand tall and pose for the cameras. But there was just one problem. The Great Khali didn't realize he was supposed to pose for the hard camera, which is the main camera facing the ring. That is when Shawn Michaels had to repeatedly shout instructions at Khali, telling him so the big man would face the right direction for the live broadcast. It took a few tries, but Khali finally got the message and posed for the right camera. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 35 is pretty forgettable. However, there is one moment that stands out because of a miscommunication issue. During the match, Luke Harper held up Mustafa Ali for a suplex while they were on the ring apron, and this was a dangerous spot already that required perfect timing. The plan was for Braun Strowman to kick Harper, eliminating both men. However, that is when Braun missed his cue. Thinking fast, Harper would loudly call out Braun's name across the ring, reminding him to deliver the crucial kick. And that is when Braun finally hit the spot. At Bragging Rights in 2009, we saw a world title match with CM Punk, Batista, Rey Mysterio, and The Undertaker. The closing moments of the match are still up for debate among wrestling fans. As the match reached its climax, the cameras caught The Undertaker quietly checking in on Batista, asking him,
"A choke slam! The animal!"
Batista was clearly shaken up and then quickly added that "you gotta hit me with the tombstone." It seemed that Batista was dealing with a minor injury and wanted to wrap things up, and he had to remind The Undertaker that the match needed to end with the tombstone, ensuring that the finish went as planned despite his injury. At Stomping Grounds in 2019, Becky Lynch defended her Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans was still pretty green at the time, and it showed. Throughout the match, Becky could be heard loudly calling spots, sometimes even instructing Lacey on the most basic moves. One example of this is her telling her to hit a back elbow. For some fans, the spot calling was so obvious that it actually took them out of the match, but it was absolutely necessary to keep things on track. Otherwise, the whole match would have broken down. The opening match of Survivor Series 2002 saw Jeff Hardy team up with the Dudleys to take on 3-Minute Warning in a wild tables match. But what fans remember the most is a moment of pure awkwardness. Rico climbed the top rope and was ready to hit his signature moonsault, and the plan was for Jeff Hardy to knock him off before he could jump. But for whatever reason, Jeff Hardy completely blanked on the spot, leaving Rico stranded on the top turnbuckle for an agonizing 15 seconds. With the crowd watching and the cameras rolling, Rico finally had enough and yelled, The moment was so obvious and unscripted that WWE had to later edit that part out of the match on all platforms like the WWE Network and Peacock. Everyone knows John Cena for his hustle, loyalty, and respect, and we also know him for his not-so-subtle spot calling in that ring.
It looked as if one time that he was actually,
It happens a lot. A clear case of this happened at the 2018 Royal Rumble match. You had John Cena, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Shinsuke Nakamura as the final four, all battling for a ticket to WrestleMania, a match for the WWE Championship in the main event. While John Cena and Roman Reigns had a dramatic stare down, Finn Balor and Nakamura were supposed to break things up, but both of them completely forgot about their cue, and we had an awkward face-off that dragged on for way too long. That is when John Cena had to intervene, and he straight up yelled,
"Fans here in Philadelphia, those hostile fans in the sporting world."
It was loud enough for Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor to remember their spots and get the match back on track. It was also loud enough for the cameras to pick it up. TLC 4 is often called the forgotten TLC match, and there's good reason for that. It happened on a random episode of Raw in 2002 and featured some pretty odd pairings. For example, RVD teamed up with Jeff Hardy, and then Kane competed alone because the Hurricane was out of action. Aside from the wacky teams, we also had a weird spot with Bubba Ray Dudley. He suffered a serious concussion and was completely out of it. It was later said that he didn't even know where he was, let alone what spot was coming next. Chris Jericho stepped up and he was talking Bubba through every single move, making sure he was safe and the match could continue. It got so bad that Bubba didn't even remember how to climb a ladder or hit his own finishing move. It was a scary situation, but Chris Jericho's professionalism and quick thinking helped get everyone through safely. This is why Chris Jericho is a well-respected locker room leader. One of the funniest times a wrestler forgot their spots happened during a segment between Randy Orton and Sheamus. This is where Orton completely forgets his lines during the promo, and rather than trying to come up with something else, he simply asks Sheamus what his line is.
Big Show's mine tonight.
And you can visibly see Sheamus tell him before he continues his promo. Sometimes Randy just doesn't care, and it's always the funniest thing to see. There's always been a debate about how much Brock Lesnar truly cares about pro wrestling, but when it comes to making moments count, Brock always delivers. A perfect example of this happened on the road to WrestleMania 36. After Drew McIntyre hit Lesnar with a Claymore kick, he was supposed to grab the WWE Championship and then hold it high for the crowd. But Drew got caught up in the moment and he completely forgot about the planned spot. Brock Lesnar saw this and knew he had to help, and as he was selling the attack, Lesnar could be heard shouting, reminding McIntyre to finish the segment strong, and he did. The 2015 Elimination Chamber match for the Intercontinental Championship is one of the most disastrous chamber matches ever, thanks to a freak accident that sent everything off the rails. Mark Henry's pod broke open in the middle of the match out of nowhere, and this was not supposed to happen, and it ruined the entire flow of the match. He was forced to enter way ahead of schedule, and nobody seemed to know what to do next, not even the referee, who literally shrugged when Henry asked him for directions. Mark awkwardly entered the ring and broke up a pin attempt, which never happens in a chamber match because if you remember, it's an elimination match. With the bout falling apart, Dolph Ziggler stepped up and started calling the action on the fly, loudly directing his opponents, trying to fix the mess. The spot calling was so obvious that even JBL and Michael Cole on commentary had to acknowledge it, joking that Ziggler was trying to strike a deal in the middle of the chaos. And lastly, we saw a post-match segment where Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Baron Corbin attacked Finn Balor and Kurt Angle. While Baron Corbin held up the steel steps, you saw Drew McIntyre hold up Kurt Angle. Bobby Lashley, though, is seen completely confused, not knowing where he should be during this spot. Drew McIntyre tries to help him out, but Bobby doesn't even listen. It's a classic moment that we won't ever forget. And that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and here's some other videos that you might enjoy.